developed by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski. It was the perfect synthesis of every previous version of Batman. Gotham City was an exaggerated Art Deco nightmare that felt like it came out of the 1940s. Everything was draped in heavy shadows, police blimps floated overhead, the night sky was always blood red. Batman and the entire cast were drawn in clean, immediately iconic designs and matched with voice actors who sounded exactly like we'd always imagined. And the writing had a maturity and depth that put every other Saturday morning cartoon to shame.
Now, the Dark Knight confronts his newest and most menacing villain.
Your angel of death awaits.
They have to be very, very cleanly distinct, and one is the mysterious and the darker corners of a man.
Mark Hamill.
For Joseph Papp at the Public Theater, I was doing Midsummer Night's Dream in Central Park with William Hurt and Christine Baranski and Deborah Rush. And Deborah and I were hanging out a lot together at that time. She's a wonderful actress. And she's a good friend of Treat Williams. And Treat at the time was dating Dana Delany, this young actress that really hadn't done anything yet. So I knew Dana from 30 years ago.
The movie's like 77 minutes long, so it's really tight. I mean, every scene in this movie matters. Everything needs to be there, and from scene to scene to scene, there is not one dull moment in this movie. It's almost non-stop, complete action, whether it be really great dialogue, or suspense, or just a flat-out action scene.
Phantasm, who looks kind of like the Grim Reaper, is showing up all over town and murdering old mobsters.
Buzz Bronski, your angel of death awaits.
So this kid's movie is basically about a serial killer. Somehow that got approved. Now this is happening around the same time that a woman named Andrea Beaumont returns to Gotham City, and she gets this beautiful, mysterious, old Hollywood-style introduction. And this kicks off the extended series of flashbacks that make up almost half the movie.
A story more fully, and a more evolved story. Because it really gets into Bruce Wayne's psyche and personal life, and that was fun. Because, you know, Batman is really, it's funny being the voice of a guy who's the strong silent type, you know? So you have very few lines to make your point with, so that it's got to be strong.
Batman Mask of the Phantasm was big-time entertainment. I really liked it.
You know, I think that the day is coming, and it's also happening with the Disney pictures, when adults are realizing that animation is not limited to an entertainment form for children, and that animation can do some things live action can't do. For example, the sets of the city in this movie are seen more clearly than they are in the live action movies, where they get kind of murky. The exaggeration of the effects and of the camera angles can be stretched, and perspective can be played with in a way that isn't available in the real world. And then also here, it's interesting that they really did have a story, more of a story than the movies. And the characters, and they pause, and they think, and they have feelings and motivations, and you get involved in it.
I got completely involved in it, and also it's tight. It's 77 minutes long. Every image counts.
Where Bruce Wayne's in his 20s, he's returned from his travels and training around the world. He knows that he wants to fight crime, but has yet to make the decision that, hey, I should do that while dressed up in a homemade bat costume. Now these flashbacks chart the course of Bruce's romance with Andrea, who was created specifically for the movie.
So great to see the past story of Batman told well. You know, you get to see like his first encounter with some thugs. He's got his ski mask on, and he's not quite Batman yet, but you see his first failure, you see his first love. You get to figure out how Alfred and him had a great origin relationship and how he's like a father figure to him. This is honestly very similar to Batman Begins in a lot of ways.
Seriously, how good is that? Like, while the Nolan movies were really interested in what Batman represents, this movie is actually interested in who he is.